Hi everyone. In this video, I want to talk about how I was able to write my medical school secondary personal statements. For those of you who haven't seen my video about primary personal statements, I would recommend that you go watch it first, linked up here, before coming back to this one, because secondaries come after primary personal statements. And in my primary personal statement video, I break down my actual primary personal statement and what it contains within it. In short, your primary personal statement is about answering the question, why you want to become a doctor. However, in this video, I'm going to deal with secondary personal statements. First off, what are secondary personal statements? Well, secondary personal statements, they're statements in which you complete after you've done your primary personal statement via MCAT if you're applying to MD medical schools. So what happens is that MCAT, they send out your primary personal statement to all of the schools that you're going to end up applying to, that you checked off on your school list on MCAT. For the vast majority of schools, they will almost always send a secondary personal statement to you, in which that is your chance to answer questions specific to schools and programs that you're interested in. All schools run their secondaries the way that they want them to, so they can feel free to ask any question they feel like they want to. I've gotten some secondaries which ask questions about what is your favorite hobby? What do you like to do on your free time? Some questions that can be more out of the box in that regard. I've also gotten some that have said, if you could give yourself a nickname, what would it be? So these secondaries are trying to get a sense of who you are as a person beyond your primary application, because your primary application tells admissions committees who you are on a piece of paper. But the secondaries, they start to get more subjective and they really get into your writing ability as well as more of your personability. And that's something that you really want to come across to medical schools. They want to get to know who you are as a person and your motivations for wanting to pursue medicine and how you're able to handle certain stresses. This is what interviews are also used for as well. I remember I have also gotten secondaries too from one particular school where they did not have an essay at all. This school decided not to have an essay, which I thought was very unique and interesting. And also, in all honesty, I really like this format a lot because if you apply to 15 to 20 schools or even more schools, secondaries, they will start to pile on top of each other and it can be a lot to complete. So think about the number of schools you're applying to, because during the summer, usually starting in June, schools will start sending their secondary statements to you after they have received your process primary application. And a lot of times, these schools, they can send them within a couple of days, if not the same day as other schools. So the secondaries can start to pile up at once. I remember when I was doing my secondaries, I at one point had 10 schools essays I needed to write, and that was just a lot of work, which is why I only ended up applying to, well, I don't know if it's only is the correct word because it was still a decent amount of medical schools, but I applied to 16 medical schools. Reason why I say only is because I've known people who have applied to way more. So when it comes to secondaries, you not only need to have your authenticity and personability come across these essays, but you also need to be very good at managing your time and juggling different schools. You also want to prioritize which schools you want to submit which secondary to first. So a lot of times what people do is that they will submit their top choices first. There's two camps of people when it comes to secondary writing. One camp preaches that your first secondary should be submitted to your top choice schools first. It makes a lot of sense, right? Because once you have your top choices done and over with, they'll get your secondary application sooner. And because medical school admissions are rolling, they'll invite you to an interview way sooner as well. There's another camp, though, that says maybe you shouldn't submit your top choice school first, because chances are your very first secondary might end up being your worst secondary. And as you start writing secondaries and progressing with them, your writing skill becomes better and better with each progressive one. And I think that's what I experienced when I wrote my secondaries. If I were to do the whole process again, I would actually go with Camp 2, because it is far better to write a high quality secondary than to write a mediocre secondary but get it into admissions committees faster. The way I see it is that a mediocre secondary, even though it will get to admissions committees faster, it will also be rejected faster, unfortunately. Rejection sometimes is inevitable when it comes to applying to medical school, but we want to try to do our best to minimize it. So that was where I would suggest saving your top choice schools until a little bit later. However, I would still go with the fact that you just need to answer the prompt of what the secondary is trying to ask you. Do not try to say things that are unrelated to what the secondary is dealing with. That's a problem that I personally have when it comes to writing, is that I tend not to be focused on the question that it's asking me about. That is not something that you want to do when it comes to secondary personal statements. And they are unique to each school. So with that in mind, you should read the mission statement of each school and really start diving deep into what the school's mission is about. And if they are more about research, or if they're more about serving the underserved, or perhaps both. What is it that makes a school stand out? Because secondaries is an opportunity to where you could show that you've actually done your homework about the school and you know about the program and that the program can be a good fit for you. And by conveying that to the school, they'll be very likely to invite you for an interview, given that they like your personability in the secondary application. That's what I think the purpose of secondaries is for. So that way schools, they use it as another barrier to screen for applicants, but they want to see which applicants would be a better fit for the school's mission, which is why I think it's worthwhile to search up the school's mission and not so much change yourself to mold to fit the school's mission, but rather to highlight certain qualities about you as an applicant that are in line with the school's mission. I'm not asking you to change yourself. I'm asking you to be authentic to yourself and highlight certain points of authenticity that the school's mission aligns with, which I'm sure there are, which is why you want to become a doctor, right? Because secondaries, again, just like the primary personal statement, they're used to ensure that you want to become a doctor for the right reasons. Medical schools want to ensure that they admit students who are actually going to give back to their communities and not just practice medicine just because of the prestige, the money, or whatever else comes with it that is external. There's actually a lot of physician shortages, particularly in primary care in the United States. Many of these schools, their mission is to increase the number of primary care physicians so that way they can serve their surrounding community, given that there's such a lack in primary care physicians. And they want to admit medical school applicants who are going to give back to their communities in that way. That's why medical schools have all of these personal statement processes in order to ensure that they admit a class who's going to do just that. So in summary, secondary personal statements are more specialized personal statements that medical schools will give to you. They give them to you with the purpose of getting to know you as a person, as well as for seeing if you're a right fit for that specific school. Secondary personal statements are not overseen by MCAS. Rather, they are overseen by the individual medical school you are interested in applying to. With that in mind, I would prioritize having the discipline to complete 15 to 20, if not even 40, because I've known a couple people who have applied to 40 plus medical schools. I hope that this video helped you gain a better picture of what secondary personal statements are and what they are looking for. Please let me know in the comments below what type of medical school application advice you'd like to hear from me. I'm always happy to hear it. And I'm Josh, and I'll see you later. Bye.